I actually had a friend reach out to me this week and ask me very specifically about the things that I've tried to implement in my day to day that have helped with things like stress management and improving low mood and depression. So, I actually was a part of a hormone health open house last week with a team of coaches that I work with. And we all shared our stories. We shared our personal history, kind of related to wellness. We also talked very specifically about our passion around hormone health and women's health. And we spoke very specifically about the things that we've started to lean into in regards to how do we really improve our health? How do we really work on our wellness? And how do we really talk through this concept of the things that we were maybe doing at one point aren't really serving us or working anymore? And so here are the things we've had to kind of shift into and move into. And so that's really what I spoke about specifically inside the group. Just to give you a quick recap of what my story looks like, I talked a little bit about my postpartum health journeys, right? Specifically after my fourth kiddo. And then I also talked specifically about just some of the anxiety and depression that I've experienced in different capacities throughout my life and why I've really tried to work hard on this concept of reducing body and brain inflammation, really working on stress management, paying attention to my lifestyle habits and how I've had to shift those in a way that don't add more stress to my life, and overall why that matters for my female physiology, for my overall hormone health, and really for overall stress in my day to day life. So she asked me, like I said, she watched my story, she watched other people's stories, and then she asked me, what are the things that you've done specifically to work on stress management and to work on things like low mood and depression? And here are some things that I want to talk about that I've implemented and have started to work through. And then I also want to encourage you to continue to really evaluate what are things that you can maybe adjust, change, evolve out of to really get into this place of nurturing your health well, especially as your health changes over time. I'm going to keep saying that, especially throughout this episode, is this idea of embracing that our health evolves, and that's okay. That doesn't mean we have to throw in the towel. That doesn't mean that we stop our effort. That doesn't mean that we get out of the proactive headspace that really matters when it comes to taking care of ourselves. But it is really important to say, maybe what I was once doing is no longer serving me. So what do I have to learn? What do I need to change? What do I need to evolve out of? And how can I continue to really help myself feel good throughout different seasons of my life? So here are some of the things that I shared with her. And here are some of the things that I want to share with you. If you're someone who is evaluating stress in your life right now, and you feel like you are hitting some really hard mental and emotional lows, and you're dealing with some level of depression, here's the first thing I want to say. Make sure that you are getting support and enlisting help if that is something you feel like you truly need. And if you're not even sure you need it, my suggestion is to go and find it, to go enlist it, to go find support, to find someone to speak to, and to really make sure that you're reaching out and have resources in place to help you unpack some of the things that you might be experiencing. I'm going to talk about therapy in a moment because therapy is a key tool for me, but I want to start this conversation by saying that help is available, help is really important. And if you're feeling like you are at that step and you need that level of support in your life, please go and find support. You deserve support. It's okay to get support. And really, truly, as we are working together in this space on this podcast and in so many different areas of health, I can want to continue to be a voice of transparency and really normalizing this idea of going to therapy, enlisting mental health resources, and really making sure that we're cultivating different avenues of support and help as needed, in addition to really working on the lifestyle factors that can affect us from the inside out. So here's the biggest thing I want to share as far as what I've personally started to do. The first is, like I just mentioned, is consistent therapy. I have really made an effort to make sure that I'm going to therapy consistently, that I have somewhere to really objectively unpack the mental and emotional weight that I carry, whether that's with my own personal wellness, whether that's my son's specific health story, which I've shared a little bit here and there on the podcast and on different pieces of my social media, et cetera. So I encourage you to kind of, dive into learning more about that if it's something you want to learn more about. I'll also leave it in the show notes of this podcast. You can learn more about our family's health story, my son's health diagnosis, whether that's with my marriage and relationships, whether that's just with my lifestyle overall. If there are things mentally and emotionally that are hard to carry and feel like they are weighing me down, it has been so incredibly valuable to have, again, that objective space where I can go in and unpack the mental and emotional weight and turmoil that I'm feeling. This is a very big part of our health. We all have this invisible component to what we manage in our days. Mentally and emotionally, it can add up. So having a resource and an outlet like consistent therapy, like a consistent counselor or somebody that you can, reach out to and talk to makes a massive difference. And so that's one thing that I have really consistently implemented as far as stress management tools and anxiety, depression, low mood tools. That's number one. Number two has been really evaluating lifestyle habits. And here's what I mean by this. When it comes to stress specifically, if we're not careful, some of the habits that we lean on can actually add more stress to our lifestyle and to how we feel in our day to day. And I've actually spoken about this on other episodes as well. But just to kind of recap here today, what I mean by that is I learned very specifically how certain kinds of exercise and fitness routines, certain kind of nutrition strategies, and really not paying attention to how those were actually affecting my body, my brain, and my physiology, I learned the hard way how those were actually adding more stress to my life. And so when I say stress management tools and looking at lifestyle habits, what I've personally had to learn is how do I shift my exercise to really get in line with my unique physiology, my unique body and brain, the way my energy ebbs and flows every month, right? How have I really paid attention to the fitness that pairs with that energy in order to maximize just how I'm able to show up every day and how I feel? That has been a big part of what I've had to shift inside my own personal lifestyle and habits. The other thing is nutritionally, right? For a long time, I used to get up super early. I'd have caffeine on an empty stomach. I'd go straight into a high intensity workout. I wouldn't have breakfast for 2 to 3 hours after. And then what happened is I found myself in a very burnt out place with very low energy and not really understanding why until I started to really unpack things like adrenal health, cortisol levels, and how that kind of habit, while I thought it was really serving my health, and quite honestly, it did for a while because I got results. I felt good for a while. And I was making progress until I wasn't. I learned the hard way that that method was actually adding more stress to my body, to my brain, to my physiology. And so as my health has evolved over time, I've had to really evaluate, again, kind of that fitness routine, caffeine on an empty stomach, not fueling consistently, like right out of the gate when I get up in the morning, going too long between meals. At one point, I practiced intermittent fasting for extended amounts of time, like just things like that, right? Lifestyle habits. And so that was one of the other things that I shared with my friend was I had to really just get honest about my lifestyle habits. Was my fitness and my nutrition really serving where I'm at right now? And the truth was it wasn't. The truth was it didn't anymore. And so I had to learn again, what did I need to adjust in order to really help myself feel good and set myself up for success in the morning and in the evening in a very stress-free, calm capacity. And so some of the things that I've changed are when I get up in the morning, I have a very specific routine, which is based on natural energy, no caffeine, very specific anti-inflammatory detoxification benefits, right? As far as products and things that I implement in order to really, again, help my body get into this place of feeling calm and not extra stressed, right? That is how I wake up in the morning. And then I make sure that I'm fueling very intentionally within the first hour that I wake up, before I exercise, before I'm diving into the day, right? Setting myself up for success, getting quality fuel right out of the gate and setting my body and brain up in a way that feels good from the inside out. That was a habit shift I had to make. The other thing that I also spoke to her about was my habits and the lifestyle that I've tried to start to implement more in the evenings, right? So after dinner, getting outside and going for a walk, right, has been huge for me. Also setting up a more specific sleep routine, which quite honestly, this is still very much a work in progress for me. Sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't. But I am trying to work on things like no more screens at night, not diving into more work at night, really trying to set a specific routine as far as how I wind down with very simplified skincare, very strategic supplementation to help set my body up for great quality sleep. And then again, really like getting myself into the space of understanding that the day is done and I need to get into that rest and digest parasympathetic mode. And that takes practice. For me, as a busy mom of four, oftentimes what happens is in the evenings, that's when I dive into catching up on information. That's when I dive into added work. That's when I dive into more research and crafting more of my coaching programs, et cetera. And I've learned that I've had to kind of figure out different ways to do that isn't all jam-packed in the evening. Because when I do that, too often, I get into this place of added stress at night. I end up waking myself up. So I'm not getting into that restful space of really setting myself up for quality sleep. And so it's played again with some of my cortisol levels and really how I have felt extra stressed. And so that again is another key thing that I want to point out. And one that I shared was this idea of really setting yourself up for success in the morning and in the evening in a way that doesn't add stress. So we talked about therapy. We talked about just lifestyle habits, evaluating lifestyle habits. Are they adding more stress to your life or not? That is a huge evaluation. And then the third one is quality supplementation. And here's why I want to share this. I am very much a work in progress, right? I'm a women's health coach. I'm a busy mom of four. I have a deep passion for health and wellness. But here's the truth. I am not perfect, right? I am really working hard continuously on trying to figure out the practices that really speak to my body when it comes to nutrition. I don't always hit the mark on things like protein and hydration. I'm constantly trying to diversify vegetables and things like that in my day-to-day, but I'm just not that gifted at nutrition. It is very much the pain point for me, something that I'm constantly working on. And I know a lot of people really have one specific piece of the wellness puzzle that feels a little bit harder, that feels like they need a little bit more support with it. For me, that's nutrition, which is why I believe in the power of quality supplementation, which is why I talk very specifically about how when you're looking at your overall nutritional habits, but we're also evaluating that within the society that we live in with how foods are processed and how we just don't have the same quality of ingredients in the things that we eat. Having targeted supplementation that's high quality, well-sourced, like reputable places to source from or to get products from can be incredibly powerful for our health. I know from my experience with working with functional medicine practitioners and my doctors that I have specific vitamin and mineral deficiencies as well as hormonal deficiencies or imbalances. And I've been able to work on balancing those out and getting to a much more stabilized place through quality nutrition, but also very quality targeted supplementation. So when my friend asked me about like, what are the things that you've implemented to help with stress management and things like low mood and depression, I told her that working with a knowledgeable practitioner, getting targeted testing, understanding my deficiencies and getting those things filled were huge for how I felt, both physically and mentally. And so again, that goes back to targeted supplementation, which a lot of that comes from working with a practitioner, but also understanding a lot of the universal deficiencies we have typically as women, right? Most often we're deficient in magnesium, we're deficient in vitamin D. Taking something like a fish oil, things like that are huge for our overall brain health and hormone health. Like taking basic vitamins and minerals are really huge for just having your body and your brain function optimally. And so I talked to her again about how I have enlisted, working with very specific and strategic brand partnerships inside my coaching program, not only for my clients, but also for my own health, because I've seen the power of how targeted quality supplementation really can change the game for how you feel from the inside out. Now, I will say this because this is incredibly important to remember. Supplementation is exactly that, right? It is a supplement to the foundations of wellness, which means we have to always be working through fitness, nutrition, sleep, stress management, and really continuing to pay attention to how are we working on every aspect of the wellness puzzle. Now, again, supplementation is a powerful piece to that, especially because, like I said, society, how things are processed, how things are sourced, like we just don't have the same quality of ingredients that we once had in the environment that we live in. And so having targeted supplementation matters. But again, it is crucial to pair that with very strategic practices when it comes to the foundations of wellness, right? Again, fitness, nutrition, sleep, supplementation, stress management, all of those things kind of paired together. So just to recap, this is again what I've really personally started to implement inside my life when it comes to stress management and things like low mood and trying to really help myself again get into that place of feeling stabilized, feeling, consistent energy, feeling like I can tackle the day with motivation. It's been a journey for me, and it still is a journey for me in some capacity because I'm still personally uncovering a lot of hormonal imbalances and some of the things that I'm still trying to work on for my unique body and physiology. So again, to recap, some of the things that I've personally started to work through or have implemented. Again, consistent therapy, huge. Unpacking and understanding lifestyle habits and making sure that they're not adding more stress to your life. Another big one. And then third, quality supplementation, getting targeted on the things that can really help me and you fill specific nutritional and mineral gaps, and so much more. I think these three things, like if you are sitting there feeling like I need to do better at stress management, I need to figure out like, how do I get myself up out of these low moods? How do I manage some of the mental and emotional turmoil that I'm feeling? How do I get to this place of feeling better? These are three areas that I strongly suggest thinking about and evaluating in your own life. And I'll recap one more time. Again, consistent therapy, having someone to objectively talk through the mental and emotional weight. 2, lifestyle habits, evaluating whether or not what you're currently doing when it comes to habits, like your fitness and nutrition habits, like your routines, nighttime and morning, all of those things, are they serving you or are they adding more stress to your life? Because stress management overall comes down to the day-to-day habits that we lean into that actually really promote that rest and digest and that ability for our nervous system to get back into that parasympathetic state and not feel so overloaded. Number 3, again, is quality supplementation. This is something that I can target and help you understand more inside my coaching program. I have strategic brand partnerships I am so incredibly grateful and proud to work with that offer high quality, clean ingredients with all kinds of amazing options for you to help fill those nutritional gaps you may be experiencing. I'm always happy to share my best advice, and I'm always happy to talk about what I do as a coach and how we can work together. My hope and prayer is that this episode today helped encourage you in some way, especially if you're sitting there feeling like I need to just, again, work through more stress management skills, tips, tricks, ideas, really understand what are the things that I can start to unpack or work through to get me out of these low mood kind of depression states of mind, right? And again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, please know that reaching out for more help and support matters, and you deserve that level of help and support. And if you're feeling like you just aren't able to kind of get out from some of the mental and emotional turmoil that you're feeling, please make sure you're reaching out and getting that support and those resources that you need and deserve. You know, I will end with this. I've had a very long journey throughout different seasons of my personal health where anxiety and depression or some of the mental and emotional components for me have felt really heavy and hard. And I will tell you again, because it's been such a journey and because it's not a one size fits all thing, the best thing you can do for yourself is reach out for help, reach out for support, whether that's, again, more lifestyle support with a coach like me, more mental and emotional support with a counselor, more specific data and testing support from a knowledgeable practitioner that understands women's health and hormone imbalance and mineral and vitamin deficiency and how that matters. Health is wildly, intricately integrated, but it's also incredibly individual. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing that message and talking through that because I want you to know that there is help and resources out there that can help you get to a place of feeling better from the inside out. If you ever have questions about the work I do or how we can continue to work together, I'd love to set up a free call with you at any point in time. Feel free to head to the show notes of this podcast and we can get connected.